Good.
Number 3. Ancient Egyptians loved board games.
Yes, they did.
All the board games.
In fact, they think they found a couple in some of the tombs.
Yeah, probably. Number 4. Egyptian women had a wide range of rights and freedoms.
Mm-hmm.
So they were very loved.
Or they understood what a lot of people in this day and age don't, that women are just as good as men.
Yep.
Sometimes even better. I mean, look at it, this podcast. 2 great women, 1 half-ass guy.
Dad. My goodness. You are just being mean to yourself and nobody else. What is your problem?
I don't know.
Number 5. Egyptian pharaohs were often overweight.
Well, I mean, yeah, they were the only ones really eating and not working at the time.
Actually, I looked at one thing and it said, God, I can't remember, but I can remember. They didn't make their slaves build the, oh yeah, number 6, that was my +1 addition. The pyramids were not built by slaves.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, no, paid laborers, as it says, but they were not slaves.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I remember that, and you're going to scream man crush, but in an episode of Expedition Unknown, Josh was...
we don't usually scream it. We just normally say it under our breath or maybe mockingly, man crush.
But in his Egyptian episode, he went to a quarry where they had quarried some of the stones for the pyramids and stuff. And yeah, the gal had mentioned it was not a slave-based society, that it was paid laborers. They did have slaves, and that was the Jews. I shouldn't call them Jews, even though I am one. The Jewish people. But yes, the Jewish people were their slaves, but they didn't use a lot of slave labor for the most part.
Right, so they paid them for what mostly they did.
Right.
All right, thanks for this nice time of reading ancient Egyptian facts.
That was amazing. You did such a good job.
Thank you, Krysta.
Yay, Krysta.
Good job.
All right. So, let's now I'm going to be using a lot of words, Krysta, that you're going to go, what's that?
So I'm going to have a lot of things to talk about this episode.
Right. Now, so as I said, the way the book was discovered is Wilfrid Voynich went to the Jesuit scholars to look at their books because he was looking for rare books that he could sell. And among the things they showed him were a collection of books that had once belonged to a scholar named Athanasius Kircher.
Again, what a name.
Yeah. And he looked at all these books and he pulled this one out. And it was 240 pages.
Yep, that's a very long book. Not as long as I have seen some, but...
It was full of hand-drawn illustrations, and if you look at your notes, I've included several.
Right.
And there was also included... It was also discussed that it might have been the work of Roger Bacon.
Bacon. Sorry. That's probably not how you spell it, but...
No, it is exactly spelled just like that. Bacon. B-A-C-O-N. Roger Bacon. Roger Bacon was a...
I'm sorry, I have to ask. Was he related to the Earl of Sandwich or Count Monte Cristo?
Okay, the Count of Monte Cristo is not real. He's a book. It's a good book. I like it very much, but Count of Monte Cristo is not real.
You know, bacon, sandwich, Monte Cristo.
Roger Bacon was a scholar, a devout, and a polymath, in that he was a master of many different fields. And so many thought the book originated with him.
Okay.
And so it got the name the Voynich Manuscript because Wilfrid Voynich was the first person to find it in the modern era, 1912. Now, the manuscript currently consists of around 240 pages, but there is evidence that additional pages are missing. Some pages are foldable sheets of varying size. Most of the pages have fantastical illustrations or diagrams, some crudely colored, with sections of the manuscript showing people, fictitious plants, astrological symbols, you name it. It's pretty much in there. It's written in the style that books on herbs and planting would have been written back in that time. But what's so unusual about it is this strange code that it's in.
Right.
And nobody has been able to break it, despite them practicing their code-breaking skills on it in both World War I and World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have a theory about a possible reason it's so hard to break, but I don't know.
Okay.
And my theory is just a guess because I've tried to break codes on things, and other than a language that my cousin made when I was 15 called Donkey Kong, I haven't decoded anything in my life.
Donkey Kong.
It was basically a take on Pig Latin, which, if you don't know, Pig Latin, you would say a word, but you'd move the first letter to the end, and then add A. So instead of saying pig, you'd say igpay.
Igpay.
Igpay atten lay, which in Pig Latin means Pig Latin.
Okay.
Donkey Kong was spelling words, except unless they were vowels.
You would be Risticay.
Risticay.
Risticay. Your mom would be Orale or Amme.
I'm gonna name my child Risticay. That'd be cool. Awesome.
So.
Risticay.
Sorry, Cindy. But yes, Cindy, Connie, Angie, and their mom lived with us for a little while they were between places when I was in my early teens.
Okay.
And because the girls were just becoming teenagers, they decided to hide all the cool stuff they did by making up a language. And the language that they made up was taking the letters of words and adding ong after each letter and spelling things out unless it was a vowel, in which case they just said it. So the one that they always used was Pong O Tom. Take off the ongs. Pong O Tom. P-O-T.
Ah, okay.
Because the 80s were rife with marijuana.
I gotcha. Drugs are bad, Crystalline.
But I have to take them anyways?
Well, not those.
Not those drugs, but...
Now, Voynich himself decided he was going to vet the manuscript and decode it. And he finished his life without ever coming close. And today, And in fact, since 1969, it has been held in Yale University's Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library. Wow. So you can go see it today if you really want to make the trip. Now, the manuscript has been studied by multiple professional and amateur cryptographers, American and British code breakers from World War I and II practiced on it. And again, it's never been decoded. There are those who will claim they have, but we'll talk about that. So, what do we know about the book? Well, we know that it belonged to the scholar Athanasius Kircher. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, it had been owned by George Beresch. And this is spelled Georg without the E. So is that George or is that Georg? Well, whatever. He's a 17th century alchemist from Prague. Do you know what an alchemist is, Krysta?
Kinda. I watched Full Metal Alchemist as a kid. Okay.
Forget everything you learned there, because it probably has no application.
That is not true. Anyway, go ahead.
Alchemy was a field that they believed that you could turn things into other things. And the whole eventual point of alchemy was to turn lead into gold. Something a few people claim to have done, but there's no proof anybody did it until California did it a few years ago. But the sad part is that it costs way more money to turn lead into gold than just to buy gold.
Yeah.
Than just buy gold.
So,
wait, that's kind of...
Anyway, we know that it had been owned by George Beresch. We know Beresch sent letters to Kircher with reproductions of some of the text.
The word brush.
Baresch. Now, again, he's from Prague, and I'm not entirely sure of my Polish pronunciation. So if I'm getting any of this wrong, I apologize. But he sent copies to Kircher of some of the text and begged him with his help in solving it. We know Kircher wanted the entire manuscript before he would embark on the task of translation. Not long afterwards, Beresch passed away, and the book was bequeathed to Jan Marek Marci, also known as Johannes Marcus Marci, who was at the time the rector of Charles University in Poland.
Okay.
Rector is like dean. It's the head of a college.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Marci then sent the book to Kircher along with the following letter. Reverend and distinguished Sir, Father in Christ, this book, bequeathed to me by an intimate friend, I destined for you, my very dear Athanasius, as soon as it came into my possession, for I was convinced that it could be read by no one except yourself. The former owner of this book asked your opinion by letter, copying and sending you a portion of the book from which he believed you could be able to read the remainder, but he at the time refused to send the book itself. To its deciphering he devoted unflagging toil, as is apparent from attempts of his which I send you herewith, and he relinquished hope only with his life. But his toil was in vain, for such sphinxes as these obey no one but their master, Kircher. Accept now this token, such as it is, and long overdue though it be, of my affection for you, and burst through its bars, if there are any, with your wonted success. Dr. Raphael, a tutor in the Bohemian language to Ferdinand III, then King of Bohemia, told me the said book belonged to Emperor Rudolph, and that he presented the bearer who brought him the book 600 ducats. Ducat is a form of money. It's really gold, and it's of a certain thickness and a certain whatever, but ducats.
Certain weight.
Yeah. He believed the author was Roger Bacon, the Englishman. On this point, I suspend judgment. It is your place to define for us what view we should take thereon. To those to whose favor and kindness I unreservedly commit myself and remain, at the command of your reverence, Johannes Marcus Marci of Kronland, Prague, 19th August, 16